Are you tired of manual quoting errors and slow sales cycles? In the fast-paced world of sales, automation is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Welcome to CPQ Talk, the podcast dedicated to helping you streamline your sales process. We'll explore the latest in configure, price, quote software and sales automation to help you close deals faster and smarter. Here are your hosts.
Trying to navigate the whole universe of IT solutions, it can feel like you're lost in space sometimes, right? Especially when you need those tools that are just, critical for sales.
Absolutely. It's a huge landscape, lots of promises, but sometimes hidden traps too.
Exactly. And that's why we're here. We basically take all your source material, articles, research, maybe even your own notes, and we pull out the really important stuff.
The key insights, the surprising facts.
Yeah, we give you a shortcut, basically. A shortcut to being genuinely informed, maybe with a little humor thrown in. So today, we are diving deep into CPQ Configure, price, quote, and other quoting software, specifically for the IT industry. Now, look, you probably already know what these tools are. We're not starting from square one, but we really want to explore how they apply specifically in the managed service provider space, the MSP world.
That's right. And the ideal market here, the real sweet spot for these platforms, it's definitely IT solution providers and resellers. I mean, these tools are built from the ground up to streamline their sales process. Everything from generating professional quotes, managing proposals, all the way to closing deals much, much faster than doing it manually.
Right, and handling the complexity so you don't have to.
Precisely.
So when you look at the MSP quoting space, you see some recurring names, don't you? There's Quoter QuoteWorks, Kaseya Quote Manager.
And that's Kaseya.
Kaseya, got it. And ConnectWise CPQ. Now, on the surface, they all seem to offer similar things, right? Integrations with distributors, PSAs, e-signing.
Yeah, the core capabilities look pretty much the same at first glance.
And look, we will cover those other tools like Quoter and QuoteWorks in future deep dives. Definitely on the list. But today we are zeroing in. It's a head-to-head. ConnectWise CPQ versus Kaseya Quote Manager. And we're going beyond just the marketing points. We want to uncover the real issues, the hidden costs, the stuff that actually impacts you day to day.
Yeah, what users are actually experiencing. But before we jump into the head-to-head, it's probably worth just quickly setting the baseline. Like, what are the absolute must-haves for these tools in the MSP space? You're talking live pricing from distributors, right? Real-time feeds.
Essential.
Seamless integration with your PSA, your professional services automation tool. And, of course, solid e-signature capabilities. Get those deals signed fast.
Okay. Table stakes. Got it.
Those are the table stakes.
All right, let's tackle ConnectWise CPQ first. Now, looking from the outside, it seems pretty impressive. They market it as this cloud-based, all-in-one thing for IT providers. The big promise is generating quotes, proposals, anytime, anywhere. They talk about live pricing from Ingram Micro, TD SYNNEX. Sounds great.
Saves a ton of time, potentially.
Integrations, right.
Yeah.
Salesforce, NetSuite, Dynamics CRM, and crucially, their own ConnectWise PSA, which people might remember as ConnectWise Manage.
That's the one, yeah. And users, they often back this up. You hear about streamlined sales growth, creating professional quotes quickly, automating pipeline updates.
So some real positives there.
Definitely. People do praise the time savings compared to, spreadsheets. And that tight integration with the whole ConnectWise world, especially for procurement, that's often seen as a big plus. It's designed to work best in that family.
Okay, but here's where it starts to get interesting. Because those strengths, they sound good on paper, but the reality, it seems to come with some big challenges. But maybe we need a quick history lesson. ConnectWise CPQ, it used to be ConnectWise Cell, right? And even before that, Quozel.
Exactly. Quozel, then Cell, now CPQ. And that history, that lineage, it definitely plays into what users often call out as, complexity. Which leads us straight into this idea of ecosystem lock-in. ConnectWise CPQ isn't just integrated with the ConnectWise platform, it's deeply embedded, woven right in. Absolutely intentionally. It strongly encourages, sometimes almost requires you to invest in other ConnectWise tools to get the full benefit of CPQ.
Right.
It creates this really powerful gravity pulling you deeper into their ecosystem, even though historically they've had a bit of a reputation for not, let's say, playing nicely with outside tools.
So it's that classic, buy more of our stuff to make this other stuff work properly strategy.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that deep integration, does that tie into the setup issues people talk about, this complexity and setup problem.
Directly. Users constantly mention complex features, a steep learning curve. This isn't something you just, flip a switch on.
Right.
Getting it set up correctly, especially for anything beyond basic quotes, like complex managed services proposals, or making quotes match your company's exact look and feel, often means mandatory and costly professional services from ConnectWise.
Wow. Okay. So mandatory and costly. That's not just a setup fee. That's potentially a significant hidden cost just to get it working the way an MSP needs it to.
It really is. It's a big hurdle up front. And it makes you question the whole user experience, because another huge area of complaint is the user interface, the UI.
What's the problem there? Clunky.
Clunky is a word you hear a lot. Also, overwhelming. Imagine trying to build a proposal, right? And this prepare content section, it only shows you like maybe 6 line items at a time.
6, that's tiny.
Terrible information density. Plus, you've got these tabs stacked vertically, eating up screen space, and you can't easily adjust column widths or row heights like you would in Excel or Google Sheets. It's maddening.
So lots of scrolling.
Constant scrolling. The feeling is that the design went for pretty over-practical, functional usability. And that's not just annoying, it actually slows down your sales team. It kills efficiency.
Okay, so setup's tough, the UI is frustrating.
Yeah.
What about getting help when things go wrong? Support.
Ooh, yeah, that's another major pain point we hear about. User reports often call ConnectWise CPQ support one of the worst.
Strong words.
Very strong. Apparently, there's often no direct phone number. You're stuck with chat or submitting tickets.
Which means slow responses.
Exactly. Slow response times. Critical issues impacting sales just sitting there. Unresolved for days sometimes. When you need a quote out now, it's unacceptable for a sales tool. It impacts revenue, client trust, everything.
Right, a critical bottleneck.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's ConnectWise CPQ, powerful potential, but significant hurdles with lock-in, complexity, UI, and support. Let's pivot now. Kaseya Quote Manager. Again, on the surface, similar promises. Simplifies quoting. Hardware procurement, saves time, boost profit. Cloud-based.
And generally seen as easier to use initially for creating basic proposals quickly.
Okay.
Kaseya really pushes benefits like automating procurement, giving you that single view across suppliers, finding solutions that fit budget and timelines. They talk a lot about aggregating products from different supplier feeds.
And their big differentiator, the online storefront.
Yeah, that's a key selling point they position heavily, letting your clients buy products directly from you, the MSP, 24/7 through this web portal.
Interesting. But like ConnectWise, there's another side to the story. History first. Kaseya Quote Manager. That was Datto Commerce before, right? And Glue even before that.
Correct. Glue, then Datto Commerce, now Kaseya Quote Manager. Another acquisition and rebrand story.
And does that history feed into its own set of challenges?
It certainly seems to. Which brings us to its major issue, the walled garden approach and integration restrictions.
Okay. Similar theme to ConnectWise, but maybe different execution.
A bit different, yeah. Kaseya Quote Manager is widely perceived as really pushing users hard towards adopting more Kaseya products. Integrations exist, like with Autotask, but users report major headaches trying to connect it reliably with other CRMs or, solutions they actually prefer.
So limited flexibility.
Very limited. A key frustration is the feeling that you can't really build out your own integrations effectively. Even sometimes with Kaseya's other PSA tool, Kaseya BMS, if it's not in their sort of preferred circle, it creates that same locked-in feeling. You're in their playground, using their rules.
Gotcha. And you mentioned data feeds earlier as table stakes. How does Kaseya stack up there? The data accuracy piece, the live feeds?
This is a critical difference. Unlike ConnectWise CPQ or QuoteWorks or Quoter, Kaseya Quote Manager generally doesn't have the same kind of real-time integrations with distributors.
Well, wait, really? What does that mean practically?
It means the prices and the inventory information you're seeing in Kaseya Quote Manager can often be incomplete, inaccurate, or just plain out of date.
Oh, wow.
Think about quoting a price based on that data, then finding out it's wrong after the client agrees. Or promising hardware that, whoops, actually went out of stock yesterday.
Disastrous for credibility. And potentially costly.
Hugely damaging. It's a fundamental flaw for a tool whose whole purpose is accurate quoting and procurement. A really big deal.
And are there other functional limitations besides the data feed?
Yeah, a few others pop up. For one, quotes are apparently often restricted to just a single recipient. If you need multiple people to sign off, that slows things right down.
Bottleneck again?
Definitely. And crucially, the platform often just shows you the lowest price option from suppliers. It lacks the flexibility to let you choose based on your preferred vendor or who has stock right now or faster delivery or maybe better payment terms.
So price is the only factor it really considers.
Often, yes.
Right.
Which isn't how real business works, right? Yeah. Plus, it's more of a pure quoting tool. It doesn't have the same comprehensive proposal capabilities as some others, adding detailed explanations, visuals, supporting the whole sales cycle narrative.
Okay. And that web store feature, you said it was a key selling point, but I also see it as a potential downside, competing with Amazon.
Exactly. It's a double-edged sword. Sure, a web store sounds cool, but now you, the MSP, are suddenly in direct e-commerce competition with giants like Amazon and CDW. That is a tough fight.
Yeah, not really the core business for most MSPs.
Probably not. And, other tools like QuoteWorks, even Quoter, they offer similar things like reorder forms or customer-specific portals. That might be a much more practical way for MSPs to handle repeat orders without trying to become the next new Weg.
Makes sense. More focused.
And adding to the friction is Kaseya's own internal confusing PSA ecosystem. They own multiple PSAs Autotask, Kaseya BMS. They kind of compete with each other sometimes, which can just be confusing for users.
Right. Which one do I use? Which one integrates best?
Exactly. And even when integrations should be smooth, like with Autotask, users still report problems, things like duplicated charges showing up, or limitations in how opportunities sync between, quote, manager and the PSA. It's not always seamless, even within their own house.
Okay, so it's not just the walled garden keeping others out. Sometimes the gates inside the garden are a bit sticky, too.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
And finally, for Kaseya, similar to ConnectWise, we have to touch on the user experience around sales tactics, support, and contracts.
Yeah, this comes up a lot with Kaseya across their products, including, quote, manager. You hear frequently about really aggressive sales tactics and notoriously difficult multi-year contracts, like incredibly hard to get out of.
Lock-in, but contractual this time.
Contractual lock-in, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's often paired with widespread complaints about the quality or lack thereof of customer support. Slow responses, difficulty getting issues resolved, plus a perceived lack of good training materials or documentation for the tool itself.
So frustrating all around if you run into problems.
Very frustrating. Again, if you need help now to close a deal, waiting days just doesn't cut it.
Okay, wow. So different tools, different strengths, but some strikingly similar frustrations around lock-in, support, and contracts.
Definitely common themes. But now, here's something really interesting. A fact that, honestly, a lot of people in the IT world might not realize, and it kind of changes the perspective on this whole ecosystem thing.
Oh.
Quoter, ConnectWise CPQ, QuoteWorks, and Kaseya Quote Manager. They all essentially leverage the same underlying APIs to talk to the different CRM and PSA platforms.
What, the same APIs? Even for integrating with their own tools, like ConnectWise CPQ talking to ConnectWise PSA?
Largely, yes. Think of APIs as like standardized communication protocols, universal plugs. They allow different software systems to exchange data regardless of who built them. So the way ConnectWise CPQ talks to ConnectWise PSA often isn't fundamentally different on a technical level from how Quoter or QuoteWorks might talk to ConnectWise PSA using the same available API.
Okay, hold on. So the implication there, if they're all using the same basic plumbing, the same APIs, what does that mean for the whole stay in our ecosystem for better integration argument?
It means that functionally, technically, there's often no inherent advantage or superior integration capability gained by staying strictly within one vendor's ecosystem for quoting. That feeling of being locked in, it doesn't necessarily translate to a better technical connection. Yeah. It's much more about the vendor's business strategy, how they package things, how they want you to feel locked in, rather than a real, tangible difference in how the data flows.
That's kind of a big reveal. It really undermines the main justification for putting up with some of these ecosystem headaches.
It does. And it helps explain some of the broader concerns we see with both ConnectWise and Kaseya. Both have histories of, let's say, making things difficult for partners outside their immediate circle.
Like restricting them from events or marketing.
Exactly. Making it sound like those third-party tools aren't fully supported or integrated, even when technically using those standard APIs, they absolutely are. It creates uncertainty for users.
And there's also that feeling, you hear it from users, that maybe these quoting tools aren't the top priority for these giant companies.
That perception is definitely out there. ConnectWise and Kaseya have enormous product portfolios. Their core PSA or RMM tools probably get the lion's share of development attention.
So the quoting tools might see slower innovation, fewer updates, bugs linger longer.
That's the concern, yeah. Compared to maybe a company where quoting is their main focus.
And we already talked about the contracts.
Right, that shared challenge of rigid, long-term contracts from both ConnectWise and Kaseya, really hard to get out of, adds to the frustration.
Which, combined with what sounds like pretty inconsistent and often unhelpful customer support across both platforms, it just compounds the difficulties, doesn't it? Especially when you're dealing with complex setups or ongoing bugs.
It really does. It makes a tough situation even tougher when you feel like you can't get the help you need for a tool that's critical to bringing in revenue. So, if we were to sum it all up, ConnectWise CPQ offers really powerful customization, deep integration if you buy into their whole ecosystem. But the trade-offs are significant. That clunky UI, the steep learning curve, the costly setup, questionable support, and that strong push towards ecosystem lock-in.
Okay, and Kaseya, quote, manager.
Simpler, maybe easier to get started with basic quotes. That web store is a unique feature, for better or worse. But it suffers badly from that walled garden mentality, the critical data accuracy problems, because of the lack of real-time feeds, limited flexibility, and those notoriously difficult contracts and support issues.
And knitting it all together is that surprising fact about the shared API infrastructure.
Yeah.
It really calls into question the whole premise that you need to stay in one ecosystem for the quoting piece to work best.
Fundamentally challenges it, yeah.
So here's the final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. When you're looking at a tool as vital as CPQ software, how much weight should you really give that promise of the all-in-one ecosystem, especially if the actual functional gains in integration might be minimal or even non-existent, and the trade-offs involve getting locked in, potentially slower development on the tool you care about, and contracts that are hard to escape? Does knowing about those shared APIs, that underlying commonality, change how you'll approach choosing a vendor for your business moving forward? Something to think about.
That's all for this episode of CPQ Talk. We hope you gained valuable insights into optimizing your sales process. Remember, mastering configure, price, quote in your organization is key to accelerating your deals and boosting your bottom line. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you have ideas for future topics you'd like us to cover, we'd love to hear them. Join us next time for more on sales automation. Until then, keep closing those deals.